What's up, everybody? So this next podcast, we're going to be talking to Ian McCall. Some interesting stuff on psychedelics, things to help you heal, help you spiritually. Check it out. Don't miss it. Right on.
1978とある田舎町で生まれて移り住んだ新宿で育ち、この町で起きたこれまでの俺たちのここまでの生い立ちはほんのまた序の口、試されたいちいち正してきた過ち、騙し合いやからしないはスニッチの始まり、放課後の登山所、児童館にホームアローン、そんな時間はほったらかして向かったとある場所。
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the YAMATODAMASHI podcast. We have the pleasure of being joined by one of flyweight royalty, in my eyes, former Touchy Palace fight champion, was in the first UFC flyweight bouts as well in that tournament. Arguably, people thought he won the first fight, but we'll get into that maybe later. But yeah, we're joined by Ian McCall. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't we start the podcast, Enson, with kind of how you were recently in touch with Ian?
Well, we've been in touch through the years about the bracelets and stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
So I made him bracelets before, and actually when we got in touch the last time was about bracelets again. So that was the beginning of our communication, and Ian sent me a care package, and I didn't know what it was at first. And when I opened it, I was like, "Ooh, what is this?" So I messaged Ian again saying, "Hey, what is this?" And then he told me it was chocolates with microdoses of magic mushrooms in it. And for me, Ian, I was like, "Ooh, magic mushrooms. The only magic mushrooms I see on TV is hallucinations and, people going crazy on it." So that's why I kind of messaged Ian and told him, "Well, I'm a virgin, man. What does it do?" And Ian kind of explained to me, which is the first time for me understanding that magic mushrooms now at a microdose level is used for a lot of health reasons. And if you go on the webpage of the nootropics, it gives a list of all the health benefits of it. So for me, I've never tried it, and after Ian kind of said, "Yeah, it's safe to try it out," so I took a bite of a chocolate, and it was weird because I tasted no mushroom. It was delicious chocolate. And I sat down, watched TV, and I have a real stiff back from all the training and all the injuries. And when I got up to get water, I was like, "Holy shit, what the fuck?" It was like 20 minutes later, and I was like, my back's all loose, my back pain's gone. I'm like, "What the hell's going on here?" So for me, after that, I messaged Ian again, said, "Hey, what flavors you have? I want to order more." And we didn't want to send it to Japan because there was I didn't know 100% if it was like illegal, but I knew it probably would have a hard time getting into Japan as far as clearing customs.
Yeah.
So I figured that's safer to send it to Hawaii. And because it was so good, I wanted to bring some back to Japan, and that was my big mistake. And as you know, Japan is considered a narcotic. So it's like me trying to smuggle in cocaine or heroin. Although it's just like microdoses and it's for health reasons, Japan don't give a shit. They said I think what I forget the pronunciation. Psilocybin.
Yes. Psilocybin.
Psilocybin is the I guess the product, the thing that's in it that makes it illegal. So they don't, in Japan, they don't say magic mushrooms illegal, but psilocybin is illegal, and it's in the magic mushrooms.
Yeah,
But man,
they're
it was
they're
good, man.
pretty much everywhere in the world. That's
Yeah,
the
right. I know, and it's funny because everywhere. I mean, Japan is pretty much, everyone's saying, "Oh, you're a drug dealer. You're importing narcotics," and then I get criticized in Japan for it because they're real close minded. They don't understand the health benefits of course, even of marijuana. They don't understand the health benefits of that, and anywhere else in the world, man, everyone's like, "What the fuck? You're getting put in jail for that. You might get deported because of that." So it's a whole different level here in what they believe and what they'll allow. They want to do their own tests. I mean, there was a time when they wouldn't even allow creatine in because they considered it a medicine on depending on how fast it would melt in water. So for a long time, creatine was actually not, you weren't allowed to import creatine in unless you had a medical license. Now it's okay.
Yeah, the most studied supplement in the world is creatine. There's more actual data on how well it works, as whether that's a nootropic or muscle enhancement, cardio enhancement. The world's coming around. You know, you have certain countries in Europe or Canada or I mean certain places in the US where it's decriminalized. I'm doing finger quotes. Decriminalization means fucking nothing. It means the cops aren't going to bust you. But from what I've found is that not only is the military taking this in droves, you know, which is like, this is how we just kind of measure things. The military's, it's huge. I work with current and formerly employed military people of all walks of life. But the VA here in America is telling people, like currently enlisted soldiers, Marines, what have you, to start taking small amounts of magic mushrooms.
Wow.
Which is I tell my veterans that I work with, they're like, how, where, what are you talking? It's fucking crazy. Then you get into the fact that I travel the country. I teach de-escalation tactics to police. And from what I've noticed, police, firemen, first responders of all types are all taking it. Maybe not all taking it, but when you sit down and the ones that aren't taking it, look at the ones who are, and they're like, this is fine. Like, yeah, all right, that's my boss. Those are people in charge of major police departments that are taking it. FBI, CIA, DEA, politicians, old people, young people, sick people, well people, autistic, like doesn't matter. There's these are helping everybody. And the thing is, you brought up your back pain. With psilocybin mushrooms, much like CBD, you have a very, very anti-inflammatory effect that happens.
Yeah.
Because you're hitting the serotonin receptor pathway or the 5-HT2A receptor pathway. And you have those on your skin, you have them all over your body. And when those get lit up, you have a huge anti-inflammatory effect. And specifically because it's also tripping the BDNF receptor pathway, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, glutamate pathway, these things that are like miracle grow for your brain. So we're still trying to figure out what exactly is happening in a beneficial manner. You know, the most dangerous thing you can do, because people are sending these all over the U.S. Like people are with that, but is going international. People do. I don't recommend it. You know, I'm never like, hey, go, you know, whether they're going to Mexico or whatever, you know, but people are taking them places, and we just got to go like this. Like, it's not I didn't do it, you know, because it's it's dangerous, especially if you're on a list already or something for smoking weed in that country, or you're whatever. I'm because I work in the security field. Working on getting my CCW, because I was a felon up until like 9 months ago, and I'm trying to go through the process. I got all that wiped off. I'm working, like I said, with police, with military, with private security stuff. Just me registering a gun or looking to register a gun in a CCW. When I went to Peru a few months ago, I got taken into a back room just because I tried and failed to purchase a gun here in California. And they brought the guy. Well, he got all weird and got, you know, like disgruntled, but a little, he was stuttering and something was off. And I was like, what the fuck? He takes me in this back room, and the woman looks at me and goes, you tried to buy a gun? I was like, yeah. He's like, he's fine. Signed it and let him go. And I was like, what the hell just happened? You know, so they're watching us. Like a lot of things, countries aren't connected, but their own, you know, shell of protection from whatever it is, or your name gets put into some registry for whatever, they're going to pull you out. They're going to mess with you.
Yeah.
And they're going to try and, you know, pick through all your shit, because times are crazy right now too. That also doesn't make things easier on us.
You mentioned about how popular the product's getting, Ian. What do you think what's the biggest reason people are trying the product?
Because life is hard. Because it doesn't matter if you're a single mom, You know, like moms in my generation were all taking pills, Xanax and alcohol. And granted, my mom wasn't. I'm grateful for that. She was just crazy. You know, she's just overall generally crazy. You know, that, but I saw a lot of my friends' moms, you know, high as shit on pills. Now you have this big, you know, front of mothers taking a stand and saying, it's called Moms on Mushrooms is the Instagram. So you have people that are taking them to interact with their children. You have people that are taking them, you know, at work, you know, to not have PTSD from, you know, having to deal with bad guys or people getting hurt. Because we absorb PTSD of all types. If we have to hurt somebody, you know, out of our job, like if you climb into a cage in your underwear and you fight someone for blood money on replay, you give and receive PTSD. If I knock you out, it's called TITS, trauma-induced trauma syndrome. If you beat me, I get PTSD. And when I first said this in front of the UFC brass, Jeff Nowitzki was like, "What'd you say?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "No one's ever said that before." I said, "I know. That's why I'm saying it, man. I'm here not for money. I'm not here for fame again or power or whatever. I'm just trying to help people. That's it." And then you can get into people that are taking them for cancer, like maybe not mushrooms. Mushrooms do help with cancer of turkey tail, you know, giving psilocybin, but there's actual, like they're doing studies on cancer and ayahuasca, how ayahuasca will actually heal. People will purge, they'll throw up their ayahuasca, or they'll throw up the cancer. So people are
Wow.
taking these of all walks of life. The autism spectrum, which I'm apparently on, is hugely benefited and helped from these medicines. And I've seen this with case studies from, like I said, the cancer, ALS, whatever it is, a lot of autism, and the change in the people, the change in the overwhelming sense of well-being, the shoulders drop, the smile goes up, your default mode network goes away, so you can actually interact with people, places, and things on a better level, and you just find a lot of benefit. I mean, it's kind of a panacea. I don't like using that word, but the interaction it has at your base level biology leads to healing of a ton of symptoms, if that makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah, it does, right? And Enson, you felt that firsthand, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Already.
women love mushrooms. Like men love them too, but women, I think it's because women are so scared. Just naturally, like the way they interface with the world is so much different than ours. Like we can do whatever we want to them at any point. Like imagine that. Imagine just walking around knowing everyone can do the worst things to you possible at any given moment. Like that's got to be fucking frightening. Where women, like they see the drop, they feel the drop, and like I said, the default mode network, they feel better about interacting. And I'm sure as you've noticed, you have the flow state. The flow state's a broad term. You have the heightening of all your senses. You have kinetic efficiency, breath efficiency, but then you also get like this sixth sense of energetic understanding where you can kind of like see into somebody and like, you know, interface with them a little better to go, hey, what's wrong? Or if it's negative energy, you're like, I'm out. And you leave quicker, you know? So it gives you a more heightened experience in life.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to try it now, but I don't believe that sort of thing exists in the UK, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
there's people doing it. It's, you know who it's going to be first over there, because the community of healers, people that are in that space is kind of small. It's growing everywhere, but it's going to be the cannabis guys. It's going to be the cannabis people which is here in America, and oh man, I grew up in cannabis, and it's not the greatest industry in the world. They are kind of low lifes. They cut each other off at the knees. They burn each other. They rob each other. It's not the best people to be making medicine like this, but those are the guys. I'm not saying all cannabis people are like that, but most of them. It's just part of the business. It's part of any business to do that, I guess. But a lot of cannabis people are not aligned with medicine, but they're mass producing psilocybin products with like very cartoony Mario Brothers mushrooms on them. It's called like trap stuff. So they're making it for the trap space, for the illicit market. And I'm not saying those medicines aren't going to work, because they could definitely change your life. But when you really look into like the deeper side of this work, the way they're grown, the people that grow them, the intentions, the vibrations, the music they play, like it's a whole ecosystem that people try and make for the mushrooms to grow themselves before they even put them in a product. So I don't know how well those people are pulling that off, but I'm sure some are. They're like I said, not all humans are shitty. Even the humans doing shitty things aren't shitty. They're just part of a shitty ecosystem. So it's like, you just got to be aware of who you're getting them from. And there's places in the UK, I'm sure, you know, you just got to be sneaky.
Sneaky. Yeah, no, I think because when I've seen it in Amsterdam, it's always been more like like you said, kind of a commercial party thing. It's not treated as a medicine like what Enson took. It's completely different.
They always say, don't take the whole bar. And people always, you know.
Yeah. Just going back to what you said about talking to the UFC about it, I was curious. You know, they sounded like in 2021 they were exploring things. I saw there's a Forbes article about that. Did they carry on that research? Is it something they're still exploring?
They told me recently no.
Okay.
They said we can't work with you anymore because we went public, and I wish, you know, of course my friends and family were like, well, fuck them, and I'm like, whoa. I like free tickets, and these are still my friends. So I don't like to say that about anybody, you know, like I don't like, these are people who were great to me. I understand business. I get why they have to say this. And a lot of the people at top, I don't even know them anymore, you know? So it's just, they've evolved.
Yeah. It's changed. Yeah.
They've evolved past me, I guess. And then it comes down to me legitimizing myself even more, which I have. Now, I sat in front of the UFC in 2019. The first time with psilocybin mushrooms, Johns Hopkins University. The study itself wasn't right. It was for addiction and for PTSD, which UFC fighters have in droves, of course, but they don't want to talk about it, which makes sense. Then University of Miami hit me up. Amazing team at University of Miami. They hit me up and said, hey, we want to give it a shot. We're custom tailoring a traumatic brain injury study to whatever they need. They have all these novel technologies, and we set it up, and they loved it. But that also fell through because of funding. So, you have a big pharmaceutical funding something. I know how much it costs to fund a study. For me to fund a study, it's expensive. For a pharmaceutical study or company to fund a study, it's not that expensive. You know, like it's kind of ridiculous. But so 2019, they said no. On the pandemic, I ended up on HBO Real Sports, which was my favorite show growing up, with Brian Gumboldt and David Scott. Yeah, I was like, this is the coolest experience ever. So I had a couple Forbes articles. I had HBO Real Sports. I sent the actual link of the video to Dana and to everybody in the UFC. Dana was the first person. He was one of the first 3 people in my life to text me back and to tell me like, hey, good job, proud of you, which was huge. Well, he had Jeff Nowitzki text me a couple days later. Then we tried again for Johns Hopkins. It fell through. Miami came in. It fell through. And by that point, I went, you know what? Mushrooms grow out of cow shit in every field in America. I don't need to be doing this right now. I don't need IP on this. I'm over it. And I was just kind of trying to figure out like, well, what am I going to do in this space? Am I just going to coach? You know, because being an integration coach is a big thing that I do as far as that. You know, trying to be the head coach of my nonprofit and coach people through the integration portion of psychedelics. I was at the MAPS conference, which is like a year and a half ago, which is the biggest psychedelic conference in the world. There was 12,000 people plus. And I was at the Heroic Hearts Project booth, which is the same. I took the structure from a veteran nonprofit and I put my label on it. Basically, the t-shirts look the same. The scientific team is the same. And I was talking to them, and I turned around and I had these 3 young UK researchers from something called Onaya Science asked me if we could do a study with athletes using ayahuasca. And I was like, sign me up. Let's go. Like, right. I don't need to second guess this. You guys work with them. You can work with me. And now I'm raising money this month. It's November. So I'll be getting a fat check this month to start off the raise. I need $150,000 for a study in March. And inevitably I need well over $2 million to pull off the study. It's $10,000 a person to bring them to Peru with flights to do 10 days at an ayahuasca retreat. Well, I should do 2 weeks. There's 2 days before and 2 days after of testing of their bodies. Then you have 10 days in between with 5 sits of ayahuasca. Very, very deep work. You're deep in the jungles in Iquitos. Iquitos itself is deep in the jungle. But then you go deeper into a bioreserve and you're at these retreat centers. And we're going to be figuring out over 1 million markers in the human genome. So we'll be testing that. We'll be doing Finkel testing, so people will have to poop in a bag and figure out the gut biome, how this affects the gut, because the gut is what creates all the chemicals most of the chemicals for our brain and our body and our heart. We'll be testing, the brain, the blood, everything else we can. I would like to do VO2 max. I don't know if we can do that down there. I don't think we have a machine down there. But we have a lab like literally at the retreat center deep in the jungle. So people will be wearing like these neuroimaging caps with a little backpack during ceremony, which is inappropriate. You shouldn't have a camera on you. There's no light. You're not even supposed to have like anything in the room with you besides your mat, maybe some mapacho, some mapacho to smoke, which is like jungle grown tobacco, and you have the shamans who are singing to you. But if I'm going to pay for this through my nonprofit, I need you to put on this cap. I need you to tell your story. I need you to do the homework. This is kind of the precedent people have to follow if they're going to be a part of this, because this is a lot of work. This is my life's work, and I'm taking it serious. So we'll have like a month of work before the actual retreat. We go down there. We do all the study stuff. We drink all the ayahuasca. We do all the integration. There's more things too. There's like floral baths. The shamans have all these other plant remedies where they have like purgatives where you drink lemongrass until you puke. And people are like, oh, how much do you drink? I'm like, you literally pound a big cup of lemongrass, fill it up, pound it, fill it up, pound it until you vomit. And sounds crazy, but it only takes like 5 cups. These are big. And you just all of a sudden, whoa, and you throw all this water up, and then they dunk you in this other, basically tea. They put water, put plants and flowers in water, and then you take a bath in it. And that's supposed to get rid of all the energy, or like in Serbian they call it the urik. If you're on a flight, or you're in a car and someone MFs you as you're driving, that's bad energy in your direction. Our body absorbs all that. So they want to cleanse you completely of all this stuff. Then you go through all the ayahuasca ceremonies, which are exhausting. You're up all night while these little shamans, little brown people from the jungle, they don't speak your language. They don't speak any language you've ever heard. Wow. They sing to you for 8 hours straight.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah. And people give Taylor Swift credit for singing like a 2 or 3 hour concert. And nothing against Taylor Swift. I mean, whatever. She worships the devil. When you see these people who have no like musical training, they get, it's an act of possession. They get possessed by the plants, and they shape shift around the room from a snake to a jaguar to an old lady to a kid to the most beautiful feminine tree creature you've ever seen. And they sing to you at a pitch and an intensity and a volume that you've never heard before. And if I played the music for you right now, you'd be like, that sucks. That's weird. Why are you like this? Like, it doesn't resonate. But when they're singing in front of you, that's what makes you purge. You know, you drink the ayahuasca, you lay down, everyone kind of sits up at the same time when they start singing, and they go from person to person. And as they walk around the maloka or crawl around the maloka, which is the healing container, the little hut you're in, that's when all the purging happens. That's when you start throwing up. And that's when you get rid of all this. It's a somasomatic release. So you get rid of all.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really intense.
What is ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca is usually two plants that are mixed together, a plant and a vine. It depends where you are, which tribe, country, whatnot, where there's multiple things they put in there. But usually it's the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna plant, which is like a shrub. They cook them together in water for a couple days at a time. And then you get these, you drink like a shot glass. The shot glass has maybe half full. If it's good ayahuasca, strong ayahuasca, you shoot half of it down, and then you go talk to God. You know, it's
interesting.
Yeah, if you want to come with us. You know, we're doing the Lord's work. You know, a lot of people a lot of people don't want to go all the way to the jungles to have some, you know, witchcraft happen or whatever they call it. But this is very legitimate. This is the most legitimate sort of healing you can get. And the analytics, we're at the Ayahuasca Foundation, which is, there's no more legitimacy as far as ayahuasca goes. It's a celebrated place. Very strict, which is how I like it. Then you have the University of Melbourne, Australia, which is helping us collect data. They're one of the plaques on the walls. Imperial College of London is another one. We're working on Northwestern University in Berkeley to all be a part of this, because we're the second major traumatic brain injury study using ayahuasca ever done. We're the first one ever using athletes. And the first one isn't complete. The first study is using veterans. It's the same scientific team. It's the same nonprofit I told you about, Heroic Hearts Project. If any veterans are listening to this, go check out HHP, Heroic Hearts Project. They are the best. No laundering money, no doing shady things with veterans. Like, you know, like usual business happens. People do dumb things. I don't mean to throw shade at anyone in the psychedelic industry, but I just did. So sorry, I'm not sorry. You know, I'm part of a crew of people in the space that are trying to keep everybody safe and trying to make sure everything is legitimized and done the right way. Because like any new industry, it's people doing people things. Humans are gross, and people are arguing and they're taking advantage of each other and they're taking money and they're just like all I'm like, man, this is not cool, but it's just humans. So we have insulated ourselves with the right people, and we make sure we're doing the right work. And there's going to be a documentary shot. And eventually, I'll be able to get, or not eventually, I've been doing it for the last year and a half, 2 years, where I bring up other athletes to talk on stage with me. Because I'm tired of telling my story. I've told my story, again, HBO, Forbes, the cover of LA Weekly, which is 16 million copies with my face on it saying, "Fight Shaman." And I'm like, the one word I asked you not to use was the word shaman. I'm not a shaman. But it's the liberal media, and they like buzzwords. So again, you can't get mad at them. It is what it is. All my friends laughed at me like, "You deserve that." And I was like, I know. So, you know, we're just trying to take athletes from every walks of life: race car driving, fightings of all types, surfing, and so on. Tons horseback riding, and we take these athletes because they can tell their stories. Veterans are not allowed to tell their stories. Veterans are supposed to be nameless and faceless. And I work with former, you know, the one of the leaders of SEAL Team 6, and he is grumpy. Man, he doesn't like when people tell their stories after being in the military, because they sign a contract to never talk about it. And so I understand his perspective. I also understand the perspective of former military who tell their stories, because we kind of need to hear that crazy shit that they have been through, and not in depth. I get to hear it in depth because I get to help these people heal, and the rest of society doesn't need to hear what they do for patriotism. You know, war crimes and murder of women and children and men and whatever. It's like, this stuff has to happen. It's war, but they at least need to be. The veterans were the ones that kicked the door in to get this legal. Now we have another set of heroes which is athletes that people adore. People watch us. I don't know how many people have cried to you, Enson, about your career and about how you affected their life, but it's been a couple dozen have come to me and cried, and men and women. It wasn't just like, sure, when I was famous, young women were crying because UFC marketed me as, I don't know, something I wasn't my idea. I don't want to make people cry. I'm just here to fight, but act out my childhood traumas on the big stage. But with these athletes, that's all we're doing is we're acting out, and when we can go through, take a bunch of athletes who have blue check marks that have multiple world titles or whatever, and have them tell their stories of number one to start how they fix their brain damage and how this brain damage was affecting them in ways like addictions, confusion, anxiety, depression, all the usual things that happen with traumatic brain injury. Your life is really hard. It's very confusing and it's very depressing, and you're very suicidal. At least I was, and you're trying to numb it with alcohol and all these things. Once you peel that off and you're able to show this shiny new person, just like, oh, I feel better, then we can get into the meat and potatoes of what happened to you as a kid. What happened, who touched you, who left you, who abused you, in what way, shape, and form. What societal thing happened to you? Because it's trauma only comes in a few flavors, and we're all afflicted with at least one of them. So with that said, having our heroes of sport come out and be vulnerable and tell us those stories is going to go a really long way. I call it the pollination effect. So that they're the worker bees who are going to take the queen bee's information. I guess I'm the queen bee now. And they're going to take it and they're going to pollinate all the people's minds and ears with this proper information of science, of healing, of harm prevention, which is huge, and all the right, spirituality things that all the boxes they want to tick, because these athletes are going to be certified coaches, and they're going to, I'm going to give them the tools to tell their own stories, because back to me not wanting to tell my story anymore. I'm tired.
So this retreat is more for like trauma, healing trauma.
Oh yeah. The analytics will lend itself to the TBI data. The TBI data is for big business, I guess. It's for universities. It's for me to go back to the UFC and go, hey, look at this. Look what I did. I know last time you needed the FDA approval and you needed a major university, and you stopped working me because, of whatever public thing you thought you couldn't do. I'm here to show you that I have more than just a university. I've got like 4 universities. I've got all this data. I've got all this crazy stuff, all these people that we used to work for you that are now healed, and they'll listen. And if they don't, then whatever, I'll go somewhere else. I don't need the UFC anymore. I'm not trying to, give them the middle finger or anything. They helped me out. They put me in Forbes. That's a big deal. But this thing can work on its own. That's what I had to create, was my own system to push this agenda, I guess you could say.
It's in their interest though, right? Because the UFC is now part of Endeavor. Endeavor's got WWE as well, right? And they've got a whole history of concussions and lots of trauma in that industry. So it makes sense for them to get back in touch with you.
Yeah, I reached out to the UFC, or not the UFC. I reached out to the WWF or WWE, whatever it is now, recently. Their head guy for brains is Nowitzki. Not Nowitzki. I can't think of his name.
Christopher Nowitzki.
Yeah, Nowitzki with a W, not a Z. Yeah. So you have Jeff Nowitzki on one side and Chris Nowitzki over there. Chris is an actual neuroscientist. Like, he's like an actual really smart person. I mean, John, to say Jeff Nowitzki is not smart. But Chris is like an actual science doctor level scientist. And I emailed him because you remember X-Pac?
Yes. Yeah.
Sean has found big benefit in what we're doing. Sean is one of my favorite people on the planet. Like, literally one of the best humans I've ever met in my life. And he got me Chris's number, Chris's email, and I emailed him, and they said, hey, not right now. We have to have, the certain study parameters put up. And he didn't shoot us down completely. He just said, hey, we have to have A, B, and C. And then we had to email him back and say, we do have A and B. We're working on C, sort of thing. So we as a group my team at Anaya Science, we have to check all these boxes off. We have to keep doing our due diligence. We have to keep doing the research so then we can pull this off because we're this close. You know,
sounds like it.
Rey Mysterio wants to be part of the study. You know, I'm hopefully I can get DDP out there. DDP is again one of those humans that's amazing. I also have to go sit at his house for a week and do some yoga because he's invited me for the last like 10 years and I haven't gone. But you know, we have the gods of sport. We have these people that are ready and willing to partake in this. Now it's just about funding. So even though it's not my job to get funding as CEO, if this doesn't work, it falls on my head. So it's still my job. So we're this close, you know, like bare knuckle boxing. My bare knuckle boxing, former bare knuckle boxing world champion, Mark the Shark Irwin, he's the main person I bring on stage with me because I don't know if you've seen his fights at all. I would say it's dark. It's dark, but go check it out on YouTube. His head swelled up like literally this big. He had a broken jaw, a broken nose. His ear was falling off. This was after his title loss. He won the title, had a TBI.
What's his name?
Mark the Shark Irwin.
Mark the Shark Irwin. Okay.
Yeah, and he fights for BYB, which is like the Bellator of
BKFC.
BKFC is the biggest, BYB is the second. More talent in BYB, to be honest, not being biased. Like I've seen BKFC shows. The one in LA sucked. Like the excitement, the level of energy never dropped, and the fights were boo-boo. They were bad. There was a couple good ones. My buddy Ruben fought in a great fight. And to see Mike Perry just obliterate somebody, you can hear him hitting people, and it is dark, man. Because you hear a bare skull on hollow, or a bare fist on hollow skull on a hollow body. It's just like, oh man, we were right there next to the ring too. So the people from BYB, and I won't mention any names, are making big donations. So this is a random bare knuckle organization, you know, that most people don't quite know about yet. They're making big donations. You're not quite six figures, but maybe if they all pull their stuff together, I might get like $100,000 out of this group, which is crazy, which is I'm almost there for this first study. So it only takes a few wealthy people to pitch in and to go like, look, this is a tax write-off. I will give you whatever tax information you need. This isn't free. You know, I'm not just asking for money with nothing for you, because I know how business works. These people didn't get rich for no reason, you know. So eventually, within the next year or two, I hope to have raised enough money to bring 205 people through this study.
Wow, you sound so busy after retirement, right? Like it seems like it's just been nonstop since you finished your fighting career. You're fighting a new battle, right?
Yes, this is my life of service. You know, I lived a very selfish existence my whole life. I didn't come from underprivileged family. I didn't come from a hard life as a little kid. I made my life hard growing up. You know, after my parents split, obviously I did a bunch of dumb things, but like I come from the upper class, you know, the 1%. My great grandfather was president of the U.S., you know, like for years, dead generations ago. This world doesn't breed people like me usually, but my best friend who passed away, Shane Del Rosario, we both grew up in this sort of environment, and we both became world champions. With the right focus, anyone can do this. And that showed we were the first kind of run of actual, this is a sport. We were super athletes who turned our attention to this, and it worked out. But you know, I'm lucky to be in a place to basically be retired. You know, I've made some investments and done well. Even with the little money I made in the UFC, I did okay, and now I can focus on other people. Now I can focus on helping as many people as possible, because when you are on the pursuit of becoming the best in the world at anything, you know, you're looked down upon by most people. Yes, the fans are there, but a lot of people hate your guts because you had to take by force and ruin somebody else's dreams. My dreams actually happened. This person's dreams got squandered because I beat the hell out of them. You know, and some of the greatest athletes in the world come and sit on this exact couch I'm sitting on right now, and complain about their lives, about, oh, you know, this happened, my kids aren't speaking to me, you know, this is you know, upended, all because of my obsessions over sports. I'm like, you have 10 world titles. Give the kids a break. You know, let somebody else win now, dude. You're the GOAT. Like, or 12 titles or whatever these people have. It's kind of crazy. So, you know, there's a multi-pronged approach for how this works post ceremony and all this healing. You have, it's time to retire. What's next in life? Whether it's addiction, whether it's sports, whether it's the veterans, this can be applied to them. Is what's next after these things? You have a new life. How are you going to live to your fullest? And for me, and especially after the medicine work, you want to help people. So I have the ecosystem where I'm creating coaches to create jobs for these people to now coach other athletes going through it, CEOs, whoever it is, normal people if they want. I can't work with normal people. It's too hard. I don't know normal people very well and their problems. I've tried to work with addicts. I don't like to babysit, but some people can. You know, I'm more or less I'm the head coach and the CEO of running this thing, so I've got other stuff to do. But busy, yeah. I travel every weekend, and also doing the security stuff that I do. I travel around the country and I teach cops how to defend themselves with the de-escalation tactics. But you know, speaking on conferences, you know, on the big stages and all that sort of thing. Then the second part, and I want all my athletes to do this with me. Like I want to be able to send them to these conferences, and I can just be at an Airbnb, like hanging out with my friends. I'd rather not be, you know, getting the attention that they deserve. But then next is people like Giorgio Gomez, who's a surfer of mine that I work with. He's in Puerto Rico right now, killing it. I hope he wins. He's in the finals or semifinals today. You know, speaking of autistics, he's been diagnosed with Asperger's, and to see the difference in him, to hear him and his mom tell me how I saved their lives by giving them ceremony, by giving him, you know, whether it's mushrooms or ketamine or what have you, to see the benefit is huge. We did 10 grams of mushrooms, which is a ton. They say a hero dose is 5 grams. 10 is pretty wild, but I've done up to 20, so it's not going to kill you. And to see him do 10 grams of mushrooms in a ceremonial setting, and then 2 weeks later, go and take second in the world championships in El Salvador. I mean, we're doing something right, you know, and it's not just, it's the coaching, it's the mindset, breathwork, meditation, all these things that we add in. But yeah, there's those two approaches is what's next, or how am I going to reach the top of the mountain? And the way, if you watch like Deontay Wilder in his last fight, where he got knocked out against the Chinaman. Am I allowed to still say Chinaman? I don't know.
I think so.
Okay, sorry. I mean to be a racist dick, but it's what he is. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. Deontay Wilder did not look like himself after doing ayahuasca. And that happens. Sometimes you need to hang him up. I feel like he was at that time to hang him up. But also, if you have the right coaches who can coach these athletes to be a savage still, you know, myself, my mentor who ran SEAL Team 6 for 20 years, guys like Cain Velasquez and Bark the Shark Irwin and Giorgio, whoever these people are, who are going to keep you on point, who are going to hold you accountable for not becoming soft. Medicines make people soft. They do. But if you have things you still need to accomplish, we're going to help you create the ecosystem for you to still accomplish that and not just be good, but show that you can be great.
So you mentioned about the consultations you do with clients. Let's just say Enson, for example, right?
Yeah.
So if Enson's to come to you, what sort of questions do you ask him to kind of ascertain like what best direction to go in terms of the medicines that you talk about?
First thing is intention. What is your intention here? You know, I try and make sure these people have intentions behind everything. You know, what are your intentions?
For me, my intention would be better health, body pains.
Yeah, that's simple. So that's the easy part. You know, we're going to drop the inflammation in your body. You know, we're going to lead you to have better practices in daily integration, the breath work, the meditation, the mindfulness, gratitude, forgiveness. I mean, just gratitude and forgiveness alone after 2 weeks shows a positive change in your neurochemistry. So just simple things, simple things like that. And then it's about diet. How do we, I mean, I'm sure you eat somewhat healthy. Like, how do we just do small tweaks to the diet? You know, how do you make sure you have a meeting with this coach once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever it is. So you check in. So then someone is holding you accountable. Well, are you doing this? You know, and it's always like, oh, I'm supposed to meet with my coach once a week. Well, we become friends with everybody. We're athletes. So we talk about stuff. We're sending each other stuff, memes or products, or check this out, you know, and it's about showing them the data on the things that they do so then they can do them more, if that makes sense.
And in this whole thing, you have them try the mushrooms and stuff?
Yeah, so there's the big dosing and then there's the microdosing. The microdosing.
So big dosing, you said what you did 10 grams before. For example, something that I can relate to, the Neotropics chocolate. One piece of chocolate, how much grams is in that?
333 milligrams. And
whoa, wait a minute.
3 milligrams. So one gram.
So you said you did 10 grams. How much pieces of chocolate is that?
That's 10,000 milligrams, not 100. That's so 333 is you know, a microdose. Well, a microdose is technically from 100 milligrams or 50 milligrams to 500. 500 gets most people high. So it's not a microdose anymore. A microdose is supposed to be sub-perceptual. But then so you have 1 to 500. Then when you get to 1,000 or 500 to about 2,000, I like to call it a performance dose. So you go to a museum, you go fight someone in a cage, you race a car, you surf a big wave, whatever it is. Once you get over 2 grams, you start to get into the intimacy dose where you want to talk. You know, you can talk to somebody, you can sit down, maybe you can still be outside, you know, but you should maybe be laying down, or at least like, you know, going off on a trail to go on a pretty hike. But that it can be a lot. 2 grams can be a lot. Then when you get
how much pieces of chocolate?
That would be 6.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. And then
I think the most I've tried at a time is 3 pieces.
That's 1 gram. So 1 gram is you feel that's strong, you know?
Yeah,
you know, I like to perform, you know, jiu-jitsu wise on about 1 gram to 2 grams.
Oh,
and
really?
I've been finding a lot of benefit in LSD, to be honest. I love LSD. That's been my new thing. I mean, I've been taking LSD. The first thing I took ever was LSD when I was 12, but now I've been using it. I've been applying it, which is way too young. I've been applying it to my sports or my yoga. And then, you know, you get from 3 grams to 5 grams to 10 grams to 20 grams. You have these wild outer body experiences. I mean, on 20 grams, I was in the jungles of Mexico in the Yucatan, sitting with Maestro Yasmin, comes from the Mazatec lineage of shamanism, which is the first shamans to ever give white people or Westerners mushrooms back in the day. 1953, it was a man named Gordon Wasson. And I sat with that shaman who gave him the medicine. I sat with her niece. I was like, no time like the present. I just saw someone I love jump out of a fucking window in front of me, not on the first floor. I need to heal, you know? So I went deep, and I've never had a greater experience in my life, to be honest. I mean, I met my unborn son. Like it was a wild experience.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, his name is Alexander. It seems like every time I go deep on psychedelics, I talk to him, which is really cool. Yeah, so you have to find your dose. Not everyone wants to take 1 gram and do anything. Some people have a full outer body experience on 1 gram. So you need to go through and you need to figure out, you know, dose yourself out and just see what works for you.
Oh, interesting, man.
So obviously, Enson originally was quite hesitant about the chocolate. What do you say to people that are a bit, you know, on the fence about this?
You can always take more. You can't take less. A real microdose is sub-perceptual. You're not supposed to feel anything on a microdose.
Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah, that's the technical idea of a microdose, because they don't want people getting high. But humans, if they don't feel it, don't believe it. So if you get up to about 200 milligrams, you'll start to feel it. So that's you know, that's like what 2/3 of a square. And the chocolate squares are strong. The one square, 333 milligrams is a heavier microdose. Most people, I would say, go from 150 to 250, which would be like one gummy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't actually feel the gummies, but the chocolates I did.
Yeah. They're not as strong because they're
Okay,
meant
so
to be the actual microdose.
the chocolates are stronger than you.
Yeah.
And how did you guys first meet? Out of interest.
Through fighting. We just knew each other through fighting.
Yeah, you know, he's a legend that I've looked up to my whole life. You know, like there's, I'm 40, and I was one of the first like prodigy type kids who had done martial arts his whole life. That was brought up in the sport. My first fight when I was 18, I fought in Hawaii, and I became ranked in Shuto, which was like unheard of. You know, especially as an American kid, like it was random. So obviously I followed, this was my life. This was everything that I knew. Being a weird kid that's on the spectrum, I was obsessed. I was only ever good at this. I was horrible at school. So, you know, I knew everything about everybody, and I watched every single fight that I could. And I emulated these people. You know, I wanted to be one of these people more than anything in life. Like I threw away every other life skill that I had or had never gained in the first place, just so I could live this life, you know, and it was, it worked out. So thank you to Enson, by the way, because that was, you know, like I've become friends with all the people that I adored. Him, BJ, Chuck Liddell, Boss Rudin, the list goes on. Like I got all these people's phone numbers, and I can just text them or go hang out with them, you know, or give them
cool.
give them products that now help heal their brain, because just like me, I know they're damaged. I know that, you know, that life is hard when you're damaged. So now it's turned into me being a sort of saving grace, I guess you could say, for all my friends.
Mm-hmm. I was really curious about your last fight, right? Because me and Enson actually were just talking about it before you came on, about how it was a pretty terrible stoppage. Like it was a big knockdown, but we always felt like, you know, it seemed early, the stoppage. And we're talking about the fight in RIZIN versus Horiguchi.
I was.
How do you feel about it now, especially in the career that you're on? Are you kind of over it, or do you still look back on it and go, like, it's terrible? My
career was terrible. Like I was full of drug abuse, and I won one world title. Sure, I reached some superstardom, but I was on heroin most of the time I was in the UFC. I was on heavy opiates, and you can't fight that well on heroin or Oxycontin or whatever. So, I was so tortured that whole time. Like I was doing really bad. And man, I messed it up. I did. I screwed up everything. Like when I was fighting in Japan, those last fights, I was snorting Oxycontin in the bathroom before they called me out. They go, you have 5 or 10 minutes. So I'd go in the Oxycontin. I'd snort at least one Oxycontin. And then I would go out and fight, which obviously led to horrible results. Granted, the results were...
They were both, right? With the cut as well. Like
cut where I hit this
against Manel, yeah.
Yeah, I hit the rope. It cut my forehead down to the bone. He didn't touch me.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so there was that one, and then the next one, I got one punched, and I walked into that fight severely concussed. I talked about it last night or a couple nights ago with Tyler Wombles. I was my last sparring session. I went into it. I was like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go light, and then all of a sudden, this guy Joe, boom, lit me up and gave me a concussion. And so I went into the fight. Yeah, I went into that fight concussed, and Horiguchi hits harder than that guy did.
Yeah,
so it's a one shot. And realistically, he probably would have finished me, and I would have had more brain damage than I have now. So I'm kind of grateful that I got taken out of my shield in one punch. Sure, would I have been able to, would have liked to have been able to perform better? Of course. You know, I'm one of the guys that should be looked at as one of the greatest of all time. I can still beat up guys in the top 5. Do I spar much? No, but I can still not spar much and come off the couch or the yoga mat, as I like to say, and beat up guys in the top 5. I know that. I'm not bragging. I've done it recently, and to where like I'm leaving the cage and the coach looks at me and goes, dude, you still got it. I'm like, I don't want it. My forehead is bruised. My body hurts. This is a young man's sport. I'm just helping. You asked me to help, and I'm helping your athlete. And the help came in the form of an ass kicking for your guy. It's not a big deal. Like I'm, this person's doing this every day. Sometimes you get caught slipping. It's just when I go back into the gym week in and week out and do the same thing to these people, they get kind of frustrated. But they shouldn't be frustrated because I'm insanely good at this, So it's like, do I have regrets about my career? Of course. I regret I wasn't on drugs. I regret that I was able to get my shit together. But do I let it hold me back? No, I laugh it off because otherwise I'm going to be that guy at the bar like, oh man, I can't catch a break. I can't do that. Just like, no, man, life happens. Now I'm living my true purpose, and that's more important.
So anyone interested in what you're talking about, how do they look it up? Is there a webpage like that?
Yeah, athletesjourneyhome.com is the website. We have the Athletes Journey Home Instagram, but it's about to get taken over by a company to run all the social media because that's what needs to happen. So if you want, the main source of information is my personal Instagram. My personal Instagram has all the talks, the podcasts I do, all the scientific information. So yeah, that's what I would say. Go to athletesjourneyhome.com or on Instagram, look up my page, Ian McCall, and you'll find tons of information and products too. You'll see not just psychedelic products, but like, food, diet, exercise tips, stuff for anti-inflammation, places to go, people to chat with. Like there's my Instagram is a huge source of information for people.
All right. Looking forward to that. I'm gonna check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, Ian. Appreciate it. It's early
How's
morning
your
for you.
braces holding up?
How's the what?
Your braces holding up, okay?
Oh yeah, they're good. It's on my. I put all my jewelry on a stone at night that has like some moonlight coming into it, so it.
I'm perfect. Oh, you cleanse it every day then.
Exactly.
Every moonlight. Man.
Yeah, the woo woo. I love woo woo. As much as I make fun of a lot of these people in the psychedelic industry because they're soft as baby shit. They're all just like, let's talk about light and love and energies and the chakras. And I'm like, cool, man, let's talk about it. Like I love that sort of stuff. It's not for everybody. It's not, again, back to the witchcraft, back to these things people like obviously assume because most people that talk about this stuff, they're wearing a big hat and a cape and they're like, we call them the Tuluminati. They all like, they're silly, but if you look deeper past the facade of kind of people just expressing themselves in whatever way that you don't understand, the information of astrology, of numerology, of yoga and breath work and all these things that we harp on, they all work. It's just about having your own understanding of it without having some yoga teacher, hippie dude with dreadlocks trying to explain it to you. Do your research, because if Enson and I, we're savages and we use stones to recharge our bracelets. Yep. It sounds weird, but it's true and it works. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Right on. Interesting.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Yeah,
early where you are, it's late where Enson is.
I'm up at like 6 a.m. every day, so it's okay.
Oh,
nice. My daily practice is strong, so.
But yeah, no, it's awesome to hear kind of how you, like I said, you transitioned from being a fighter and then putting all that energy into fighting the good fight and helping fighters in the future and other athletes with all the research that you're doing. So hope you get some big sponsors of the papers. And
thank you. Yeah,
and I'll keep in touch with you. I'm probably gonna need to order more chocolates.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, just go to Japan, whatever you do. And thank you.
Yeah, no shit.
That, it's sorry about that. It's
no worries, man. Not your fault. My problem. My bad.
Well, we're good. Yeah, we'll definitely we'll restock you soon.
Shoot, man. Right on, man.
Thank you, guys.
Right. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll speak again soon.
All right, that was cool. Thank you for watching, everyone. Yes, if you have any questions, any ideas, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Right on, everyone.